The session.
We interrupt your regularly scheduled programming for a very special episode of the Florida AFL-CIO Legislative Update. We've laughed, we've cried, and now the legislative session has officially come to a close with an extended season finale that went on till Monday. The biggest threat to Florida's working people this session was House Bill 1197. The bill was slated to be rushed through the Florida Senate before the end of the session, but thankfully, after a great campaign to push back, never was heard.
So we'll march day and night by the big cooling tower. They have the plans, but we have the power.
It's a dark time for democracy in the Sunshine State. Senate Bill 524 was passed in the Florida House. This bill would create an unnecessary elections task force in order to fix non-existent issues of voter fraud. If anything, this bill will lead to voter intimidation and suppression.
We are putting millions of taxpayers' dollars into creating unnecessary barriers that make the democratic process more confusing and deter Floridian voters from participating.
We don't have elections where election fraud on any kind of organized basis is an issue. It just doesn't exist. I asked the sponsor and I got a bunch of stuff from, 5 years ago there was a guy and 15 years ago there was somebody. But nothing that adds up.
SB 524 passed in the House 76-41.
If you're gonna vote, we'll need some photo ID.
But I lived here all my life.
Stopping all Americans from voting is for the protection of all Americans.
Throughout this legislative session, there have been multiple preemption bills attempting to rip away local government's right to govern. One of the most absurd examples is SB 620, which would allow local businesses to litigate any ordinance they feel hurts their bottom line, regardless of the ordinance's benefits to the community, drowning local governments in red tape.
Bill may have substantial physical impact on local governments. The Senate sponsor said, "We do not know how these bills will affect local governments because this has never been done before, and we're the first in the nation. Why do we always have to be first to do bad things? I just don't get it."
Another opportunity to threaten local governments to get their way. That's what this is. Because for those of us who come from local government, our businesses are actually owned by our neighbors and people we've grown up with, people we've coached in our teams. They're not some random business that we're all out to get.
SB 620 passed the Florida House 69-45.
I'll keep it short and sweet. Family, religion, friendship. These are the three demons you must slay if you wish to succeed in business.
Senate Bill 7044 would put the standing of Florida's colleges and universities at risk as it severely impacts the accreditation process for Florida's colleges and university and attacks the intellectual freedoms of our professors and students. Deep down, the bill is yet another example of the legislature attempting to pick favorites and hold grudges through our education system.
It's going to place a tremendous burden on our colleges and universities and ultimately on our students and on all of us as taxpayers. And I don't think there's an appreciation, again, by the folks supporting this bill for how time-consuming the accreditation process is within the university. It's not just a sort of one-and-done thing. It's an ongoing process.
So this particular bill, 7044, wants to destroy a healthy and protected tenure culture where Florida's higher education system will no longer be competitive with surrounding states, meaning highly qualified faculty and millions of dollars in research grants will no longer come to Florida. That's one thing you're about to do, to continue to destroy the top 5 university in the state of Florida. The second thing you're about to do is ruin the accreditation process. Ruin the accreditation process, you're going to see the top 5 university in the state of Florida plunge quicker than you know. You're about to change the way we accredit schools. Now, accredit our school, my beloved university. And that will happen to other schools in the state of Florida. I'm sorry I only have 2 minutes because I have so much to say.
I can guarantee you within the next 2 or 3 years, we will be back fixing this. The accrediting part of this is extremely, extremely dangerous. We're talking about federal dollars. We're talking about access to certain things. And it literally takes away the core essence of going through the accrediting process in the first place. If you have findings, it's going to take you probably 4 to 5 years to do the findings, but you're already starting on a whole new process.
Having already passed the Senate, SB 7044 passed the Florida House 77 to 44.
And who did I see taking a bribe but the Honorable Bob Arnold? Don't worry, Congressman. I'm sure you can buy all the votes you need with your dirty money. And this will be one nation under the dollar with liberty and justice for none.
Senator, there's a problem at the essay contest.
Please, son, I'm very busy.
A little girl is losing faith in democracy.
Good Lord!
Another session, another round of attacks on our education system. House Bill 1467 will enforce term limits on local school boards, whether they want it or not, and allow anyone, anywhere, to object and interrupt what's taught in our classrooms.
But I'll tell you what gives me even more serious heartburn and not pause. And you guys saw my 2 sons today. They go to public school. And you guys talk about freedom and you talk about parents' rights. And I should be the one to be able to object to my son's books. But in here, you let anybody with a Google account anywhere in the world object to a book in my son's school. And I think that's not giving me the freedom.
With outside influences outside of the state impacting our elections, and we don't have a problem with them educating our children, then there's a problem with our consistency. You can't have it both ways. You can't say we don't want outside influence when it comes to campaigns, but it's okay to have outside influence when it comes to educating our children. Pick one. Whatever it is, pick it. And be consistent and intellectually honest and politically accountable. Because this is not it. You just gotta pick one.
House Bill 1467 was amended and passed in the Senate this week, 24 to 15, and then passed with amendment in the House 79 to 41. The future isn't looking too promotion for Florida's education system.
Good morning, class. A certain agitator, for privacy's sake, let's call her Lisa S. No, that's too obvious. Let's say L. Simpson. Has raised questions about certain school policies. So, in the interest of creating an open dialogue, sit silently and watch this film.
Nothing beats a stroll in cattle country. Hi, I'm Troy McClure. You may remember me from such educational films as 2 - 3 = -fun and Firecrackers, the Silent Killer.
House Bill 1557, referred to as the Don't Say Gay Bill, has been rightfully met with disdain across the country. It's an all-out attack on members and students of the LGBTQ community and makes educators' jobs even more difficult in an already trying time.
Just know that this is no victory lap. It's not a victory lap at all, as a matter of fact. I believe this will be another stain on the history of Florida. Whether you disagree with the messaging or not when it comes to people calling it the Don't Say Gay Bill, or you can put whatever title behind it all you want, it hurts people.
We already have a statewide shortage of teachers and a declining number of people deciding to go into the teaching profession. This bill, and I would argue others that we are going to see this week, are going to make an already bad situation that much worse.
And as we were here yesterday, I got a email from my staff at home, and they said they had just been going through a really angry week of phone calls, and that people were calling very upset about their rents, about their property insurance, about the increase in the price of gas. And I sat here while we're discussing round 3 of cultural wars. We're going through immigration, abortion, now homophobia. And I thought, how can we be having these discussions when my staff at home is having to deal with the day-to-day issues that affect people?
After fierce debate, the HB 1557 was passed in the Senate, 22-17.
That was a big mistake, Bart. No children have ever meddled with the Republican Party and lived to tell about it.
On Friday, the legislature got into some serious shenanigans as policies that have never seen a committee, never been discussed, and have not had a single moment of public input. Those were placed into the budget conforming, including the same policies prohibiting discussion of racial injustice issues if anyone feels uncomfortable in our colleges and universities. The bill now puts financial penalties up if they do. This could wipe entire programs of study and will seriously hurt the status and reputation of higher education in Florida.
Why can't we just make a law against flag burning?
Because that law would be unconstitutional. But if we change the Constitution...
Then we could make all sorts of crazy laws.
Now you're catching on.
What the hell is this? It's one of those campy 70s throwbacks that appeals to Generation Xers.
This session was one for the ages, and every win for working people was thanks to the brave work of our friends and neighbors of the Working Families Lobby Corps. Members of the Working Families Lobby Corps came from every corner of the state, week in and week out, to speak out and stand up for our rights as working people.
All right, my name's Harrison. I am from Tampa, Florida. I'm 19 years old. I'm here to represent all of the service workers, all the lovely people back home, to let our legislature know that we're tired of what they're doing.
Hi, my name is Terry Lopez-Preuss, and I am the Vice President of the Broward Teachers Union. I came down here with my people from Broward so that we would be able to tell the people in Tallahassee that our voices matter and our rights matter. Thank you to everyone for being here.
My name is Andre Kermody. I'm at Florida A&M University, part of ASME Local 3343, and we're here standing in solidarity to fight against this union-busting bill. And it's a bad bill, stand against what we stand for. And unions built this country and been the backbone of this country. So, yeah, that's why we're here standing in solidarity.
That wraps up our final edition of the Florida Legislative Update Series. We're signing off and reminding you to stay active, stay involved, and keep up the fight for Florida's working families.